Hello, welcome to the second lesson in the First Time Dart series. This time we are going to be talking about variables and expressions. So a variable in a programming language is the name of a value. So when we need to work on computing values and doing computation on data, then we need a way of naming that data, and so that is the role of a variable in a programming languages. So a variable name could be something like x, the letter x, and in Dart you need to declare a variable before you use it. So you can't just use a variable. You have to say, I need a variable named x, and then the way you do that is with the var keyword. So you would say var x, and that just declares that you are going to use a variable called x. And then later on you can do things like assign a value to it. So when you say x equals 1, that the equal sign is the assignment operator, and it is taking whatever value is on the right side and putting it into the variable named on the left side. On the right side could be a number, it could be another variable name, so it would take the value out of one variable and put it into another. Or it could be an expression. So an expression could be like things like arithmetic expressions using multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and there are other kinds of expressions for strings and other things like that, so which we'll get into later. But just dealing with numbers in this lesson, we're going to use the assignment operator to put values into variables, and then we're going to create some arithmetic expressions using some of the arithmetic operators. Now, one thing to know about the arithmetic operators is that there is something called precedence. So when you have an expression like plus with multiplication and addition and so on, it will they'll be performed in a certain order. But let's take a look at an example first. So and there's a little warning here. You can prefer typing on initialized variables. You can just click the hide button here and get rid of that. I'll explain that in a future lesson. So here we have a standard Dart program like we had in the last one, a void main, and then the body of our function in between curly braces. And the first thing we do is declare a variable x. Oh, you also notice this line here. This is a comment. Any line that has a // in it, although all the characters to the right and all the way to the end of the line, those are all going to be comments. So you can type whatever you want, notes to yourself, notes to other programmers, things to remember about why you wrote this code, things like that. So it's a good idea to have comments in your code to explain some of the things. So I put comments in here to explain what's going on with the different lines of this program. So the first part is declaring the variable x. And then the next part, x equals 2, that's assigning a value into the variable x. So it puts the number 2 into that variable. So now we have a print statement, and this one looks a little bit different than the last time we had a print statement. For one thing, it uses these single quote marks at the beginning and the end. Those are to be used for a feature of Dart called string interpolation. And what that allows you to do is when you want to build up a string with both kind of text and also values from variables in it, you can put a special symbol in here, which is a $sign and then curly braces around the name of your variable. So here it's $, curly braces around the x. So the value of x is initially $, x. So if I run that, we'll see the value of x is initially 2. So when that got run, x was assigned the value 2. And then we're going to redefine the value of x. So we're going to change the value of x to something else. If we look at the right side of this expression, we're going to take the current value of x times 7 and then add 4 to it. So it always evaluates the right-hand side first before assigning it into the variable at the end. So the value, whenever you see x on the right-hand side, it's the value that it had before the assignment occurs. And then the very last thing that happens is it puts it into that variable x. So we start off with x, which is 2 times 7, so that's 14, and then we add 4. So that's 18. So the new value is 18. So this is where precedence comes into play. If plus had a higher precedence than times, then I would calculate this as 7 plus 4, which is 11, and then multiply it by x, and we'd get 22. Now, if we wanted that to be the order, we can actually just add parentheses into this expression. And if we run that now, x is 22, because the 7 plus 4, 7 is added to 4 first, and then we multiply that by the value of x. So you can play around with some of these expressions and just see how things work. You can change x here to bigger numbers, and then run the program and see what comes out. Okay. I said before that Dart requires that you declare a variable before you use it. You can also do it all in one line. So if you declare this variable x, you can immediately set its initial value to 1. So you can do that all in one line too. So that's another way of declaring and assigning a value to a variable all at once. So this portion of the last section of this lesson is a little assignment to see if you can modify this code to calculate degrees Fahrenheit from degrees Celsius. So I have written here a code fragment, and hidden behind here is like a Dart program that's going to use these variables, and it's going to print out something. So if you don't change this code at all and you run it, it says 20 degrees Celsius is equal to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That doesn't look right. Try again. So let's look at the code. We first have an input number of degrees Celsius as 20. So just this is a sample number of degrees. And then I say change this line to calculate the output in degrees F. So this degrees F variable is right now just set to the constant 0. So what I want you to do is to change this to an expression, and you're going to be using the variable degrees C as one of the elements of your expression. And then you're going to use some operators like times and plus, and calculate what the equivalent degrees Fahrenheit is for whatever the degrees Celsius is. And you can go ahead and pause this video here, and then you can go try the things out down below, and I'll wait here, and you can just unpause it, and I'll show you how I solved this. Okay. So if you don't know, I don't know if you wanted to Google how to calculate Fahrenheit from Celsius. If you click, I don't know if you notice there's a little hint button here, and it says to convert from C to F, multiply C by 9/5 and then add 32. Okay, so that's the formula. So degrees C times 9/5, or times 9 divided by 5, plus 32. Okay, so now if you run that, it says 20 degrees Celsius is equal to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, that looks right. Great. So I have a little test code that tests to see if you got the right value or not. One thing we can play around with is what if the original degrees C is are different numbers. So if I say degrees C is 0, now it says 0 degrees Celsius is equal to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, well, that's right. We know that 0 C is the same as freezing. And what about 100 degrees C? That's also a well-known value. 100 degrees Celsius is equal to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the temperature of boiling water. All right. So congratulations if you got that. So that is a little bit about how variables work in a Dart programming language. Okay, I'll see you the next time when we're going to talk about conditionals.